for the job. Daddy, ask her about the job.
Sorry, she's not usually this direct.
I'm always this direct. You just don't listen.
I saw the sign, front desk. I know it's probably already Barty.
It's not filled.
I'm the manager.
You are not the manager.
I manage you.
She was already halfway back to her car when Poppy's arm shot out from the fender and pointed straight at the folder in her hands. "That's for the job," Poppy announced, like she'd solved something. "Daddy, ask her about the job." The woman stopped. She had a manila folder pressed against a floral duffel bag, and the kind of look on her face that said she'd rehearsed a sentence on the drive over and had already lost it. I still had a 9/16 wrench in my hand and grease past my wrist. I was aware, in that specific way you're aware of things too late, that I hadn't shaved, and that my daughter was standing on the fender of a customer's Buick in her church shoes. "Sorry," I said. "She's not usually this direct." "I'm always this direct," Poppy said. "You just don't listen." The woman's mouth did something that wasn't quite a smile, more like she was deciding whether it was safe to have one. "I saw the sign," she said. "Front desk. I know it's probably already—" "It's not filled," I said, too fast. I hadn't decided what I was about to say next. I just knew I didn't want her to keep walking toward that car with the duffel bag, the one that looked like it had her whole life folded into it instead of an overnight bag. Poppy climbed down off the Buick without being asked, which she never did, and planted herself between us like she'd been appointed to run the interview. "Her bag has flowers on it," she said, as if this settled something. "It does," the woman agreed. "What's your name?" "Mara." "Mara," Poppy repeated, testing it. "That rhymes with nothing." I checked. Mara's laugh came out startled, like it had escaped before she gave it permission. I used the moment to actually look at her. Not the folder, not the bag, just her, standing in the wash of morning light coming through the bay door, waiting to find out if this had been a mistake. "I don't usually do interviews at 8 in the morning with an audience," I said, "but she's not going anywhere, so—" "I'm the manager," Poppy said. "You are not the manager. I manage you." Mara pressed her lips together, trying not to laugh at my expense, and mostly failing. "I can come back," she said. "If today's fine." I set the wrench down on the tool chest, wiped my hand on a rag that didn't help, and held it out. "Daniel." Mara Whitfield. Her handshake was quick and firm, the handshake of someone who'd done 100 interviews and expected this one to end the same way most of them probably had. I saw the listing online. It said it bounced back, so I figured I'd just— "The email's been broken for 3 months. I keep meaning to fix it." "Everything in here looks like something you keep meaning to fix." She wasn't wrong. Behind me, the front desk was a landfill of invoices, a space heater doing the job of an actual heater, and a phone that rang constantly because nobody was ever there to answer it. I'd been running the desk between jobs for a year and a half, badly, which meant customers waited too long, and I apologized too much, and nothing was where it should be. "It's not a receptionist job," I said. "Not exactly." "What is it exactly?" I glanced at Poppy, who had climbed back onto the fender and was narrating quietly to herself about the engine, some private mythology involving the battery and a dragon. "She's here every day after preschool," I said. "Has been since her mom died. I need someone who can run a front desk and not treat her like she's in the way." Mara's face changed. Not pity, which I'd gotten plenty of and hated, but something quieter. Attention. "I'm not a nanny," she said carefully. "I'm not asking you to be one. I'm asking whoever takes this job to be around a kid without flinching. That's different." "How different?" "You'll know it when you see someone flinch." She looked at the folder in her hands like it had suddenly become the wrong document for this conversation. "I've done reception and office management for 6 years," she said. I don't have references for being good with children." "Poppy?" I called. "You like her?" "Yes," Poppy said immediately, without looking up from the engine. "She smells like the good kind of soap." Mara's eyebrows went up. "I don't know how to argue with that." "Nobody does," I said. "It's her final word on most things." I nodded toward the desk. 15 an hour to start. 30-day trial. You keep the phone from ringing 11 times before someone picks it up. You're already ahead of me." She hesitated, and in that hesitation I saw something pass behind her eyes that I recognized, because I'd worn the same expression in mirrors for a year and a half. But the look of someone doing math on whether they could afford to want something. "Okay," she said. "Yes, 30 days. 30 days," I repeated, and put my hand out again, and this time when she shook it, neither of us let go quite as fast as the first time. She started the next morning at 7:30, before I'd even unlocked the bay doors, standing at the entrance with a coffee in each hand like she'd decided showing up early was a form of collateral. By the end of the first week, she had reorganized the filing system into something that made sense, found 4 unpaid invoices going back to February, and taught my senior mechanic, Ruben, to stop writing customer notes on the backs of receipts he then lost. She labeled my toolbox, Ruben told me, aggrieved, on day 4. It says Ruben's Chaos on a piece of masking tape. Is it wrong? That's not the point. Poppy left her stuffed rabbit on Mara's desk chair on day 3, propped up facing the window, so it wouldn't get lonely while she was at school. Mara didn't move it for 2 weeks. It just sat there watching the phone ring, until one afternoon Poppy took it back without a word, apparently satisfied it had done its job. I noticed things I told myself I wasn't noticing. The way Mara crouched down to Poppy's exact eye level instead of talking down at her. The way she never once, in 3 weeks, told my daughter to be quiet, even when the shop was loud and Poppy's voice was louder. The way she read every invoice twice before filing it, but only ever needed to look at a person's face once to know something was wrong. I also noticed the days her shoulders sat higher than usual, and the way she'd disappear into the back office at exactly noon and come out 20 minutes later with her eyes a little red and her voice a little too bright. I didn't ask. It wasn't mine to ask. But on the 4th Friday, when she came out of the office and Poppy ran up holding a drawing that said Mara in 6 different colors, Mara knelt down and hugged my daughter so hard and so long that I had to find something to do with my hands so I didn't walk over and ask what was wrong. That night, after Poppy was in bed, my phone rang. It was Mara. "I'm sorry to call," she said. "I wasn't going to. I don't have anyone else to call about work things, and this is a work thing, I think. What's going on?" There was a pause long enough that I could hear the shop's ambient hum in the background. She was still there, I realized, hours after close. "My sister," she said. "She's been struggling for a while. Custody stuff, with her ex. Today the court moved things up, and she needed someone to sit with her, and I told her I'd cover it out of my lunch break, except my lunch break isn't long enough for a custody hearing, so I've just been quietly falling apart in your break room for a month, and I didn't want you to think I was unreliable." "I don't think that." "You should. I've been unreliable. You've been human," I said. "Those aren't the same thing." Then, before I could stop myself, "Is there a version of your schedule that actually works? Something longer than a lunch break?" Another pause. "You'd do that? 30 days in?" 26, I said. I counted. She let out a breath that sounded like it had been held for longer than the phone call. "An hour," she said. "At noon. I'll make it up after close. Done." "You don't even know what this is going to cost you." "I know it's costing you more not to have it." I could hear her deciding, on the other end of the line, whether to believe me. "Thank you," she said finally. "I'll see you Monday." I noticed the shift the day she picked up the phone and said, "Premier Motorworks, this is Mara," instead of, "This is the front desk." It was such a small thing. I was elbow deep in a transmission, and I still stopped what I was doing to listen to it twice. "You said your name," I told her later. Like an idiot, like it needed pointing out. "I've worked here 3 months. It felt strange not to. No, I like it. I didn't have a better sentence than that, so I left it there, and went back to the transmission, and thought about it for the rest of the afternoon anyway." Poppy started asking for Mara before she asked for me. I told myself that didn't sting, and told myself a second time when I realized it wasn't stinging at all. It felt more like relief. The specific relief of watching your kid attached to someone steady after 18 months of watching her flinch at loud noises and ask, at bedtime, whether I was going to disappear too. The trouble came from Poppy's grandmother. Elaine had been my wife's mother, and she loved Poppy with a ferocity that sometimes came out sideways, aimed at anyone she perceived as taking up space that used to belong to her daughter. She showed up on a Thursday afternoon to pick Poppy up for the weekend, and found her at the front desk with Mara. The two of them bent over a coloring page of the shop's logo that Mara had drawn freehand because Poppy asked for one. "Who is this?" Elaine asked, in the tone of someone who already suspected the answer and resented having to confirm it. "This is Mara," Poppy said. "She works here. She's my friend." Elaine's eyes moved to me, then back to Mara, then down to the coloring page like it was evidence in a trial. "A friend," she repeated. "Daniel, can I speak with you outside?" Out in the parking lot, with the fall air sharp enough to cut, she didn't waste time. "She's playing house with my granddaughter," Elaine said. "Coloring pages, packed lunches. Poppy told me she made her a Valentine last week. She's an employee who's kind to my daughter. That's not playing house." "It's exactly playing house. You hired a woman to run your front desk, and now she's running your family. She's not running anything. She showed up to work and Poppy liked her. I didn't script that. You didn't stop it either." Elaine's voice cracked on the word stop, just once, in the place where grief always found its way out sideways. "Poppy needs her mother, Daniel. Not some substitute you found through a job listing." I stood there in the cold with my hands in my pockets, and I thought about 6 different things to say, most of them defensive, none of them true enough to survive contact with her grief. "Poppy's mother is gone," I said finally, quietly. "I can't fix that by keeping everyone else at arm's length. All I can do is make sure the people around her are good to her. Mara is good to her. That's not the same as being family." "No," I agreed. "It isn't. I never said it was." I said those words out loud on the drive home. Once, quietly, just to hear how they sounded. Not the same as being family, and didn't like how much I wished they weren't quite so true yet. I told Mara about the conversation 2 days later, mostly because Poppy came home from that weekend visit asking careful questions. Is Grandma mad at Mara? And I didn't want Mara blindsided if Elaine ever said something to her directly. Mara went very still at the front desk, both hands flat on the counter. She thinks I'm trying to replace her daughter. She's grieving. It comes out sideways sometimes. That doesn't make it not true, though. Does she have a point? Mara looked up at me, and there was something raw in the question. Something that told me it mattered more than she was letting on. Am I overstepping? With Poppy? No. You'd tell me if I was. I would. I'm telling you now that you're not. I leaned against the counter, close enough that I could see the exact moment she decided to believe me. You didn't apply to be anyone's mother. You applied for a front desk job. Everything after that, Poppy adopting you, the drawings, all of it, that's not something you did to her. That's something she did, because you were steady with her and she noticed. I care about her, Mara said, like it was a confession. More than I probably should for someone I've known 10 months. 10 months is a long time to be steady for a kid who needed steady. She didn't say anything for a second, just looked down at the coloring page still taped to the wall behind the desk. Poppy's crooked drawing of the shop, Mara's careful lettering of Premier Motorworks underneath it in a hand steadier than mine. I need this to be honest, she said finally. Whatever this is, I need you to tell me if I'm getting attached to something that isn't mine to get attached to. You're not, I said. I'm the one who should be worried about that, not you. Why you? I hadn't meant to say the next part out loud, but it came anyway. The way true things sometimes do when you've been holding them too carefully for too long. Because I like watching you with her more than I should for someone who hired you to answer phones. Mara's breath caught, audibly, and for a second neither of us moved. Then Ruben's voice cut through from the bay. Either of you seen the 11 mil socket, and the moment folded itself back into the ordinary noise of a Tuesday afternoon, both of us grateful and disappointed in equal measure. The soft test, when it came, wasn't from Elaine. It was from a fleet contract. A logistics company wanted 12 delivery vans serviced on rotation. Steady, boring, exactly the kind of account that would smooth out the shop's slow months. The manager, a clipped man named Owen Draper, came in to finalize details and sat across from me while Mara laid out the maintenance schedule she'd built, cost breakdowns and all. Owen skimmed the packet without looking at her once. "This is solid work," he said to me, I like dealing directly with the owner. Keeps things simple. If a van's down, I call you. Not. He gestured vaguely toward Mara without looking at her. The front desk. Mara built this schedule, I said. She'd be your contact. I'd rather it be you. It's not going to be me. She runs operations. That's not a courtesy title. Owen's jaw tightened. I'm offering steady work through the slow season, Daniel. 12 vans, year-round. I don't think it's unreasonable to want a direct line to ownership. I looked at Mara. She had gone very still, the way she did when she was bracing for something, her pen resting against the desk instead of moving. It's not unreasonable to want good service, I said. It is unreasonable to think good service means talking around the person who provides it. That's the deal. Her or nobody. Owen stood, gathering the packet with more force than it needed. Your call. Feels like a strange hill. It's the only hill I've got, I said, and he left, and the bell over the door gave one short, annoyed jingle behind him. Mara didn't thank me. She looked, instead, like she might be sick. That was 12 vans, she said. Steady work through winter. You can't just... I did, though. You shouldn't have. Not because of me. I didn't do it because of you, I said, which was half a lie, and we both knew it. I did it because a business that lets people talk around its own operations manager is a business that's going to lose more than 12 vans eventually. You built that schedule. It's yours. I wasn't going to sell it out from under you to keep a contract. Her eyes were bright, angry in the specific way people get angry when they're actually scared. I don't want to be the reason you lose money. You're not the reason. Owen's the reason. I'm the one who said no. She didn't answer that right away. Instead, she looked past me, out toward the bay where Poppy was sitting on an overturned bucket, deep in conversation with Reuben about whether cars dream. I keep waiting for the version of this where you get tired of defending me, she said quietly. That's usually where it goes. Then you're going to be disappointed, I said, because I'm not tired yet. We lost the fleet income, and I picked up Saturdays through November to cover it. Neither of us called it romantic, because it wasn't. It was two people quietly figuring out what was actually worth protecting. One evening in December, after close, she stayed to finish the books while I swept the bay. Poppy was at Elaine's for the night, a small mercy, a small truce holding for once. I could hear Mara's pen tapping twice against the desk, the sound she made when a number wasn't behaving. You're allowed to ask for help, I said, without looking up from the broom. I know. You never do, though. She set the pen down. Asking for help is how you find out people were only ever pretending to want you around. Is that what happened before? Somewhere? She was quiet long enough that I thought she wouldn't answer. Then, my last job. I asked for 2 weeks off when my mom got sick. They told me they'd reconsider my fit for the role when I came back. I came back to a box on my desk. She said it flatly, like a fact she'd worn smooth from handling it too many times. So I stopped asking. I just did the work and made sure nobody had a reason. I put the broom down and walked over, close enough to see how tired she looked holding her guard up. I'm not going to put your things in a box, I said. Not for asking for help. Not for anything. You don't know that. I know that I've had 18 months of proof that you show up, even on the days it costs you something. That's not a fit for the role question. That's just who you are. I reached out, slow enough that she could step back if she wanted to, and tucked a piece of hair behind her ear. I like you, Mara, not the operations manager. I've liked you for months, and I've been careful not to say it because I didn't want you to think steady work was ever conditional on anything else. Her breath went unsteady in a way that had nothing to do with the cold shop. And if I said it back? Then I'd ask if I could kiss you, and I'd wait for you to actually answer, because I already know what it looks like when you say yes to something out of politeness, and I don't want that. I like you too, she said, quiet, certain. I have for a while. I just didn't think it was allowed to be simple. May I kiss you? Yes, she said, and this time there wasn't a single careful thing about it. Elaine came around slower than either of us expected, and faster than I'd hoped. It didn't happen in a conversation. It happened in pieces. The first piece was small. She stopped calling Mara her on the phone and started saying her name, clipped and reluctant, like she was paying a toll she resented. The second piece came on a Sunday when Poppy fell off the porch steps chasing the dog next door and skinned both knees, and it was Mara's number Poppy asked me to call first, before Elaine's, and Elaine heard that from the next room and didn't say a single word about it, which from Elaine was its own kind of surrender. The third piece happened on Poppy's birthday, when someone asked her what she wanted, and she said only, for Mara to stay forever, not just some of it. Elaine went quiet at that too. 2 weeks later, she asked Mara, without any preamble, whether she took her coffee with cream, the way you ask someone you've decided you're going to know for a long time. By spring, Mara's name was on the shop's paperwork below mine, the way it should have been all along. By summer, customers asked for her before they asked for me. Poppy told anyone who'd listen that Mara was basically staff and basically family, both at the same time, which was, honestly, the clearest description anyone had managed yet. The proposal, when it came, wasn't dramatic. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday, months later, with Poppy asleep down the hall, and the shop closed for the night, and Mara at the kitchen table, finishing paperwork she'd brought home out of habit. I set a folded piece of paper on top of her invoice, not a ring box, not yet, just a plain sheet with one line written on it, in the same careful hand she used to label everything in that shop she'd rebuilt from nothing. Will you marry us? Both of us. The shop needs a manager, but Poppy and I need a family. Mara read it twice, the way she read everything, and looked up at me with her eyes full and her mouth doing the thing it did when it was deciding whether a smile was safe yet. That's not how you propose, she said. You're supposed to ask out loud. I know. I wanted you to read it first so you'd know I meant both parts equally. Ask me, then, out loud. I got down on one knee in our kitchen, grease still faintly under my nails no matter how hard I scrubbed, and took both her hands. Mara Whitfield, I said, you didn't apply for this. You applied for a front desk job, and somehow you ended up running my business and raising my daughter's whole understanding of what steady looks like, and I would like, for the rest of my life, to stop pretending that was ever just an accident. Will you marry me? Yes, she said, before I'd even finished breathing out the question, and pulled me up by both hands to kiss her before either of us could turn it into a joke. From down the hall, half asleep, Poppy's voice called out, Is it a yes? Tell me it's a yes. It's a yes, Mara called back, laughing against my mouth. Good, Poppy said, with the enormous satisfaction of someone who had, in fact, called it first, pointing, all those months ago, at a stranger with a duffel bag and a folder.